So welcome everyone to this wonderful Women in VFX panel in a wonderfully organized session summit by animationexpress.com. So I welcome everyone formally and let us begin. So I wanted to start with Saraswathi. Hi Saraswathi.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
I would like to start with, it may sound cliche, but what is your opinion on is VFX still a man's domain? What do you think about it?
Absolutely, yes.
Is it? Why do you think there are still less girls coming into it?
I think the more women are visible, the more women will join. So I personally feel that visual effects, and I'm talking from my experience when I started at a very young age of 16. In fact, I was at Sai Prasad Labs in Chennai, and it was amazing, when I wanted to go and work, on the set, literally there were no women.
Yes,
Imagine. And I even went up to the director and I said, look, I really want to be a part of this. And they were shooting Prabhudeva's Mukala Mukabla, which was by director Shankar. And it was very clear and evident that the safety of the woman was a concern for the crew. So the number one thing was the safety of the woman on a movie set. Right. It was a liability back then. And I don't know what it is today in India, but I still think people still have that in their mind. But today I see a lot more women in costume, in design, in art, in being producers. So I think the more women come in, the more women also say, hey, you know what? I have a friend who's done a course. I want her to be on the set and take data for VFX. And I think more of that needs to happen. But even here in the US, if you actually see the number of films that are put out and the number of women visual effects supervisors that are attached to a show are very, very small. So I don't think it is just in India. I think it's globally there. And I think it's great that we're having this panel discussion to address these concerns and thoughts.
Lovely. Yeah. I so agree with you. I mean, I was discussing about just hardly 9 years ago, on the sets of Vishwarupam, and hardly there were days when in a crew of 100 people, we were like two girls. And it was not scary. Everybody was supportive. We were taken care of. But yes, it did happen. And, it does feel, oh my God. And I don't think that is the situation today. Even like you rightly said, from production, direction department, girls are working day and night, traveling all over. And it's definitely moving towards a brighter scenario. Cool. So I will move on to Kranti. Hi, Kranti.
Hey.
Hey, so please share a little details about, you're with Technicolor. So, yeah. So, it's a huge studio facility in India, in Bangalore. So, what is the ratio of women in Technicolor, compared to the total?
Sure. Thanks for that question. So, I am just relaying it back to what Vani just mentioned. I'm not sure if it's still a male-dominating world, right? I think I have a little difference of opinion because I came much later in this industry, right? I think you all are veterans. I came in much later, and I think I came to a much better world. So I'm not able to probably relate to what she mentioned. Things have really changed. I would think, it's really moved into a very positive direction. For Technicolor, I could definitely speak. We are 600 or 600 plus women today. We started this journey about 3.5 or 4 years back, and we've done extremely well. Went out to the market, went to schools, went to colleges. We've added, I think 30% of our leadership is women, right? So as Vani says, yes, women attract women. They get more comfortable when they see, your counterparts are more women and comfort zones and things like that. But singling out VFX world or animation to be just male dominating, I think it's everywhere, right? So it's just that we started so late. Historically, we started late, our journey of working so late, right? So we are going to catch up. It's not that we're not going to. I think these women in animation pieces are in the right direction. Absolutely. I think these sessions really help. People watch us. They reach out to us. So I think for Technicolor, definitely we've heavily invested in diversity and women. We've done fairly well for ourselves. And I think our target is about getting to 45% in 2021-22. So we're aggressively out in the market. However, women also have to help themselves, right? Like as organizations, we can reach out to them, but they also have to participate in the programs and they have to reach out to us and apply. I think it goes both ways. Currently, I feel it's a little less from the other side. That would be my take.
Correct. So your point is like, instead of we keep on going and convincing them, it has to be like they need to open up and approach.
Absolutely right. I mean, it has to be both ways. As organizations, a lot of us show a lot of interest, right? But if they don't apply, educational institutes, if you see, about 30% only pass out. There are a lot of girls who are doing these courses, but they do not join companies for some reason. They pick up, any other industry. They don't come into VFX as much. So I think we've done a lot as our organization. We've done quite a bit in the last 3.5, 4 years. I think we need to do more, but it has to be both ways. It can't be just one. Currently, I feel it's more organizations are more invested than the women themselves.
Right. That's a nice viewpoint. Okay, thanks. So I would like to bring in Priyanka out here. Hi, Priyanka.
Hi, Asmita. Thanks for having me here.
Lovely. So, Priyanka, you are based in London and you have an office there and you have a visual effects studio in Chennai, in India. So,
That's right.
yeah, so definitely that itself, there's so much to know and understand leading as the owner of a studio and leading remotely. We would really love to hear how challenging it has been and how's your experience.
I think when I first started this company, I think first of all I started it out of by mistake. I would say it was a mistake that something that I started off as, oh, let's try this and see whether this model would work, and sort of it became the norm that it is today. So I started this company thinking that remote working could be the future. I developed relationships with lots of freelance groups all across the world. So when I started the company, we had great relationships with boutique houses in Turkey, in Argentina, where groups of FX artists would work for us for a small project. So it was very much dynamic at that point. So I did get the glimpse of how this remote working was going to work or not 5 years before itself. So when I started the studio in 2015, which was predominantly remote working, so 2015 to 2017, 2 years was, Hula Hoop was completely remote. In 2015, we decided that we would have a setup in India. So for 2 years, good years, it was pretty much what the world is today. So remote working, calling everyone on Skype, having Google spreadsheets to track information, production information, sharing, materials over Signiant or WeTransfer, depending on the type of projects. And it was, it's like when I think about what it was, it's probably helping us a lot with what we are doing now in this current situation where we are in a lockdown. England is in lockdown. We are in the second lockdown here, so we can't really go out and meet clients or have director feedback and things like that. So it's all work from home for us. And when we're working remotely has its own set of challenges, especially with people relations. When you're managing 50 to 60 artists sitting from thousands of miles away, it's very, very difficult to have that personal connection, whereas you're sitting right next to them in a studio environment where you can just call them into the meeting room, address their concerns, whatever it's good or bad, grievances or like appreciation. So these things become really, really difficult, and we're slowly realizing how difficult things are on an interpersonal level, but it is what it is. I think the whole world is dealing with it in some way, and so are we. So yeah, that's our story.
Right. So how many women, female artists or technical crew in your studio?
When we started was hardly 5 people, and we were and those 5 people were so hard to find them, honestly. Nobody would apply, first off, and again, like Vani said, we had issues with women wanting to be dropped off because their mothers and fathers would have issues beyond 6 o'clock, and they can't work beyond 6 p.m, and they'd have to be chauffeured back home and things like that. It was very bizarre for us, coming from where we were working, which is in London, where you see lots of people just going out and about and doing their stuff. It was like, what? But we had to understand those cultural differences and then encourage these women and say, hey, you know what, don't worry, I will. So I have driven people around and dropped them in their houses late in the night, women, female employees, and that's how you sort of incentivize and get people to work for you, especially in a very rigid culture that like South India is. To an extent, it is sort of, I wouldn't say I shouldn't call that word, but it is sort of culturally a little bit more stricter than
Schedule is
Mumbai.
slightly different. Get up early.
Slightly different. And the second part of retaining female talent is just to retain them. When it comes to life challenges, people wanna say, hey, I'm getting married, so I'm resigning my job. I'm like, hey, hold on, what happened to all of the beautiful things that you told me during this interview? And suddenly you're like, oh yeah, my in-laws are going to whisk me away to some far land, and but that's it. So we're having to we dealt with quite a few of those, and then we luckily managed to be at a 15% female workforce today, and that's in about three years of us being in existence in Chennai, and we'd consider ourselves lucky because Chennai, the female employee ratio is not that high, and the number of applicants also aren't that high in this industry, which I hope will slowly change.
Correct. So there has been a slight growth.
Yeah.
Right. Lovely. So thanks. And now let me get in Shiji here. Hi, Shiji.
Hi, Asmita. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah.
Great. So it's very nice that all of us are joined by the thread of VFX, but of course each one has her own story and what we do currently. So it's very interesting what you do currently. So I would love to hear a little bit more from you, because you're with an organization after tremendous experience. You're with an organization which is supported by the government. So which is very, very interesting. So I would like you to, quickly let us know a little bit about that. And also would love to hear, since you have something like an institute training people, training students. So what is the ratio of girl students coming in, overall your experience at your center?
Yes, so it's a great opportunity, and I would like to take this while to thank Biren sir, who has given this opportunity for me to lead the Center of Excellence run by the state government. Now, actually, the Center of Excellence is held by an association called as ABAI,
right,
the animation and of Bangalore, Association of Bangalore. Now here, the most beautiful thing that I want the entire world to know is that at the Center of Excellence, we are having the latest technology that is one of its kind in Asia, we can say. So we have the motion capture studio, we have the body scanning, the green screen, which is one of the largest in the country. Then we are now bringing in very good news for the VFX industry is that we are bringing in NCAMs, That's the first time in the country we're bringing in camps. That will be the tracking system for the VFX. So and then volumetric scan and almost all the latest technology under a single roof is what the Center of Excellence holds, and we're very proud of it. And thanks to the Karnataka government, who's really being great support to, and it's a first of its kind in the entire country that we have, or we can say in Asia, that one studio having all the technology together. Really and good. To add to that, the government is helping. We have an incubation center where we support startups. So we accelerate programs for them. We support with a very low cost, the government cost. So it's a co-working space for the startups, and a lot of support from the Startup Karnataka, as well as we do mentor all these startup, and we see them grow, and it's an amazing part of the entire organization that's called the Incubation Center. Mm-hmm. And then the best part is our finishing school, where we are going to be training. So now, as we are talking about the women training and the students training and all those things, we are trying to have a finishing school. So as the word says, finishing school, already trained students, we encourage them, because generally when a studio hires a fresher, so they take almost 2-3 months to have them to work with the plates, and a lot of issues happen at studios, as we all know, that freshers are not given the plates directly to work. You give almost 3 months of time for training. So what we do is that we give those sharpening tools, we take them on board for almost 2-3 months, and make sure that they are ready for the industry. So either they can get into companies like Technicolor or Eccentrics, one of the best in the country, or they can become a startup. So we have a course like a gaming course where they can actually become a startup. Almost 16 games is what they will be doing right there. So so these are and thanks to Kranti, she heads and she's my mentor, and she's been working on a lot of programs. We are aligning with the Victorian government and many other international studios and institutes, so that we can give the best to the Karnataka state, to our students. And definitely women students are also encouraged. We can say like around 40% of women are working with us, as well as we have students.
So I can add to Shiji here, Asmita, for a second. So Shiji and ABAI is going to be running a badge called Pink Badge. This is going to be women's badge, which Technicolor is going to go and hire.
Right. Great.
Yeah. So I think that's a great initiative that ABAI has picked up, and Technicolor is signed off in principle. So Pink Badge is all women, right? And this is all finishing school. So I think we're all aligned to the story of having more women in animation.
You should thank Kranti. Like, she has been my mentor and amazingly working towards, bringing this to the state. And we're happy actually.
Kranti light. Okay. Getting into it, it's very amazing. You talk about finishing school, and there used to be finishing school for girls to learn baking, cooking, and how to behave and things like that once upon a time. And it's so amazing. We're talking about Technical Institute at this level.
Yeah, and you have the production people. I mean, the teams, the heads from the production unit itself come and train, because they are having a hands-on experience of what needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's amazing. Yeah.
Very nice, lovely. So I'll get on to Ellen now, to pull Ellen into this session. Okay, so Ellen, you have this tremendous experience. I just want to start off a little bit. I know it's very difficult, but please share your experience of kind of when you started, and what were the challenges working in the US. And I would like you to throw a little light on from turning from VFX producer to VFX supervisor, and as a woman, did you face any challenges? What were they?
All right. So where do you start with that? I guess the first entrance into visual effects was the woman executive producer. at Digital Productions. So we'll start to say that I don't think that the US, and we've talked about this a lot, faces as many challenges culturally as you all seem to have had. So while I was in the production the visual effects studio side, I really didn't face any challenges. So I said, I'm not sure how I offer anything here other than to say I was very first having a woman as a boss, right? Running Digital Productions, which was one of the very first visual CG companies in the world. The first to have any CG in a feature film. And so she was incredible. Still to this day, she's a very good friend, and she's amazing. And she's the one that offered me, excuse me, a little morning voice, to Boss Films after Digital Productions sort of went down hard, but offered me to Boss Films to Richard Edlin, who is in his own right, a major star in the industry and in the beginning. And he was very supportive. I mean, he appreciated my, I guess, aggressiveness and my wanting to get control of what seemed to be mayhem. I came in on a commercial as a freelance person, ended up as head of production. I stayed there for 8 years. I bought CG to that company. So I went backwards. I went from CG to analog because there was no CG at the time in Boss Film or any major visual effects studios. And it's a long story. I won't keep on going on, but I started a commercial division that allowed me to buy one computer. The computer went on a box, and I hired one of my best friends from Digital Productions, which was a guy, because, there weren't any real, there was maybe one in Digital Productions, maybe one girl, as I can remember it. Not technology didn't seem to be the choice of women at that time, and I think it's all very much so changing. So then I went on to Warner Digital. And then I think to try to circle this around to some point of this conversation, I went to the production side at the studios with What Dreams May Come. That was my first job. And I will also say everybody was quite supportive and welcoming of my experience and, I guess, aggressiveness. And it's not bad to be aggressive. It's just, passionate, right? It's not necessarily aggressiveness, it's passionate. But once you get on the set, you're not wearing the baseball cap, which I don't do because my hair is already dead. You did find just, and I think what you all said at that time, I forget who was saying, I think it was you, it was at the starting ages of women entering production. And it was you really did have to navigate, using your womanly wiles, you know what I mean? You're trying to get what you wanted like that, but you had to, it was, just to get a table put to your, to the, where you were working on location on the, on the spot, just get a table from craft service, which just I just want to say, I'll go get it myself, but you can't do that, right? Being a woman. So it's my personality and being a woman sort of collides at times. And I would say that I found that for many years on production, you just run into the DP or where you need, say, I don't want this. I want Kina flows. I want, a guy could go out there and say it and they would just shake their head. But with you had to, sort of charm them, which is not my best, that's just not my best attribute. But it was challenging. But I think it's all I think that I started seeing many more women, and I would agree that when I first started, you know, you'd have the script supervisor, maybe the costume designer, nobody else, you know, and maybe being a grip is not something we girls want to do, but who knows? There might be a lot of girls that want to do that. But it is changing. It is changing. I found the most difficult, and I'd like to get somebody wrapped in that can speak further with you guys when she finishes her project, is I how do I put this? I didn't knowingly turn into a supervisor. I just got thrown into it, you know, and people would hire me for organizing everything and then appreciate my creative abilities. And I enjoy doing my creative abilities more than the organization. But when you come in as a woman, as a supervisor here, even in the United States, it's a long hill up to be creative. And there's a lot of pushback. It's just like, you know, I mean, so many producers that started out at my age, men, visual effects producers, and went on to be supervisors, have great careers, get paid a lot more money. And for some reason, the second a woman wants to become a supervisor from being a visual effects producer, it is still an uphill climb. It's still an uphill climb. It's starting to change. I mean, I can, you know, there's a good number of ladies that are now being accepted into that and not getting just, I was talking about the other day, I don't want to say your name, so I'm going to say it wrong again. But Sheena Dougal, who I worked with when I was 26 or something, and I took over a job called Astronaut's Wife. And Sony at the time was actually walking away from the project. And I got called in by a girl that used to work for me, who is now head of visual effects in New Line. And she called me in to transfer the job, like the back portion of it. So that's how I met Sheena. Sheena was, and is, what am I saying is an incredibly creative, knowledgeable, just lovely soul. And I just watched her for almost 20 years get the littlest, like maybe second unit of this or this little piece of a job, you know, and it's changing. I mean, she's getting now major films, right, you know, as a visual effects supervisor. But I mean, that's been the arc. So I guess I can only underscore that it is changing. It is changing, just like all of us are changing as women. I don't even care if it's visual effects. You know, this permeates through all industries, and we're all starting to get our chance. So I love where you got to step up, right? That's what we have to teach the young girls and mentor them and just push, because anyway, you know, I'll start to babble, but no, it's all possible. Yeah.
Right. So absolutely agree with that. And I would like to, you know, add a little bit about, you know, the topic coming to women supporting women. And I can already see here, you know, the camaraderie and how Shiji spoke about how Kranti helped. And I remember Vani, women in animation, and you know, the things, amazing stuff we used to do. And Priyanka, you know, talking about encouraging more girls getting into her studio. So I definitely have a small experience. It's not small, actually. It's one of the major, most important experience with Ellen out here, you know, right? I have had the opportunity of working with her in a project at an international studio that I was working at. And later on, when I started working as a freelancer, you know, Ellen had a project coming in, and I was somewhere else. I was in Malaysia, and so she wanted to check about, you know, few sequences from her show. And of course, I'm more than happy always, you know, working on those shows. But the thing was, they could only sign up with studios, kind of legally or technically speaking. So what do we do now? I don't know how, but I had not heard of it before, and she somehow made things move at a very leading film studio in LA, and she made it happen. And I was signed as the VFX producer India for the show, and it was absolutely, I mean, kind of a turning point, and so amazing working with Ellen, and Ellen doing this kind of a stuff, you know, to work with artists in India. So it was like me getting the opportunity, and I worked with hell lot of artists, the small studios or individual artists, etc. So definitely, you know, hats off to women supporting women, and thanks to Ellen for doing that for us.
I'm gonna interrupt you. I gotta say, it was just because you were good. And I certainly, I'm just serious. I mean, you know, you could have been a person from Mars. I just thought you were that good. And the trust that I had in you to work in a place, you know, I don't know all the studios. And as you've all pointed out, the culture, you know, and I'm a real proponent of hiring people that understand the world that they live in. Like wherever I work in the world, I'm always looking to work with somebody that's from there, you know, because you know, I mean, who am I to know, you know? And it's the intricacies. I think I'm not going to try to attempt the names, but the hula hoop lady, you know, it's good to keep culture, and it's good to communicate within culture, and then find somebody that can explain to you, you know, what may or may not be happening. So anyway, my hat's off to you. You did a great job on a few films for me. So and I appreciated all the work. It was fast, it was good, and you know, was up to the level of anybody. So, but I trusted you wholeheartedly to know where to go, who to talk to, and to talk to them.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it is, see, appreciating and yeah, making things happen is a very beautiful thing, because it's we initiate certain things and closures happen. So leaders like Kranti comes in and she steps in. She'd not see that, okay, what, where, how, then make things happen for us. I mean, it's a very genuine and a fantastic support that COE gets, and from a mentor like her. So, of course, appreciation and a lot of respect we have, and we've been working together for quite some time now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I think what's more endearing is actually, you know, to note that sorry, am I just speaking?
Please. No, please go on.
No, I'm just saying that, you know, it's great that I'm seeing so much, you know, so much of appreciation for each other's work, and, you know, relying on the best talent, and just like, you know, going after who's got the best talent rather than, you know, what gender they belong to. I think it's very endearing, but I think we should also take this opportunity to, you know, thank men in our lives.
I know.
Come to that.
Personally and professionally.
Well, yeah, I mean, both ways. And I think, you know, I've had a mix of both female and male bosses, and they've equally been like excellent for me. I mean, I don't know, this is just my personal experience. So many of my male bosses that I worked for have, you know, till date, give us business. You know, they've encouraged me to say, hey, Pri, it's your company. You know, I completely support you because it's something that you own, and I've worked with you before, and I trust you completely. And hence, here is your is the piece of work that we're rewarding you. And it feels so great that, you know, you're not being judged just because you're a woman, that, or any lesser that, you know, she is incapable of managing a business because she's a woman and she'll probably have to work under a man. And these, you know, shackles are breaking anyway. So I'd like to thank all kinds of people that have been in my life for supporting me, both men and women.
I completely agree. I mean, I completely agree. I've gone through this. I came from journalism to VFX, where I was not sure about, you know, doing events or research or writing about VFX, animation, gaming is different than actually working in the field. But you know, yeah, my bosses, you know, those people, whether it was John, Barry, Madhu, they supported and they were like, we know what you can do. So it was like, okay, let's try. It was an adventure, and I you know, never look back, obviously. So it is an amazing field to get into. It's difficult to get out of later on. Once you're there.
We're here heading all because we have mentors who puts us in the front and they
Correct.
stand behind, very strong, saying that you go ahead and we are watching over you. So the kind of mentors we work with, and I have amazing, you know, bosses.
Experience, right?
Yeah, and
I just wanted to add that,
Please.
you know, just looking at all your faces, I'm beaming with happiness, because
Same here.
it is really, you know, at the end of the day, it's these connections that take us places.
yeah.
It's what we believe that take us places. Even though this is a panel about women in visual effects and stuff like that, it's your parents, you know, it starts at home.
True.
So it starts at home, where they encourage you. You know, I had a great father who at a very young age told me, education is not for you. You go watch some animation films and this is where you will be.
Wow.
You know, so that started at a very young age of like 9 or 10, when my dad literally would, you know, we would rent VHS tapes for 10 rupees to watch Dumbo and Bambi.
Wow.
And he would just like say, stop studying, go watch these movies, go have fun, you know. So it really depends on what kind of environment that you take in. And I think these experiments that I have done without knowing that I was experimenting, when I was given the opportunity to run Rhythm and Hues in India, I literally had never gone to the States. I was hired over a phone call from a person that has never seen me. And there was no video conferencing back then. So it was literally like a dial-up connection to say, hello, how are you? What do you want? And,
Oh my goodness.
and this is way back in 2000, I think, or 2001, that I got this phone call. And I was like, no, I want to be a director. I want to make my films. I want to direct stuff. And it's like, no, we want you to run a studio. Because I said, why? I'm not the right person. I've never run a studio. They're like, no, you can try it. And giving that trust from someone that you don't know, someone who's not your father, someone who's not your brother, someone just completely outside, A, recommending you, B, someone following up on that recommendation, and C, now it's your domain. What will you do with this opportunity, right? Will you go full charge and create one of the best visual effects studios in the world? Or will you create something else? And I was very young. Like, I had never done anything, but that opportunity that came to me and said, run a visual effects studio or set up a visual effects studio, I literally set it up from my apartment in Bombay with 3 people, an Academy Award winning studio, right? And here I am doing it my way because I was given the opportunity to do that.
Right.
And within, I mean, again, it's hard, you know, and I think that's the most beautiful thing about where I sit today is I embrace that it's hard. I embrace that it must be hard.
Right.
I should not say like, it should be easy. Why is it not easy? Because then it's never easy. Like, whoever told you life is going to be easy? Because it isn't,
Correct.
you know? But I think thanks to my...
We all know that.
Yeah, thanks to my dad and my husband and my brother and everybody else, and the fantastic team that I was able to manage at Rhythm was phenomenal. And from day one, I knew when I started, we made sure even if women were not on par with men, we invested. We did apprenticeship programs. We invested and we put them on probation like for a year. I said, no problem. You're going to take longer. I'm not giving up on you. You can sit here, do it. But once you get there, I'm just going to push you up. Right. And it was, I mean, I can't take credit for all of it, but I can say that it's this dynamic, that we're all talking about, that trust, that respect that you give and take is at the bottom line. I think it all comes down to that. Helping each other, feeling insecure is a part of, this whole industry because it's a natural thing to be. But also letting go and letting more women take on responsibility. I would say that when I was working at Rhythm & Hughes and managing 4 studios, before anybody in the world had done anything like that, we made sure that we made equal amount of leads along with men that were women. And that attracted more women. We made sure that almost every manager in every department was if there was 5 managers managing artists, we made sure 5 women were equally given that opportunity and trained for that opportunity. So I think it was a fantastic experience, and it still continues to be. The only thing, to go back to the first question, is how many visual effects supervisors are coming out of India that are women? Right. And that I don't see. And that's one of the things that boils my blood even today, is that it's great. There are women doing animation, there are women doing production, there are women doing 10 things, but I would really like to see a woman who's a visual effects supervisor who calls the shots, who goes on the movies, who tells what is needed, who does all those things, because only when we see that, more are going to follow.
So we're missing 2 members. I mean, I'm sorry, but would like to add, I noted down and I wanted to mention about Sherry and Rupal, who are, some of the VFX, amongst the few, couple of noted visual effects supervisors, and I'm sure they inspire so many more. And I just feel, like you all rightly said, looking at all of this, hearing all of this, I think we can keep going on and on, because it is so awesome to hear this wonderful stories, because each one has personal struggle, each one has a lot of encouragement that we all have got. But I hope
I'd like to just add one thing before I lose my thought.
Yes.
What was 25 years ago is not today.
Correct.
What was 5 years ago is not today.
Right.
Today, there is so much empowerment that you don't need anybody.
Correct.
Like you can go and get your digital camera, you can put your green screen in your apartment, you can go make the short film that you've always wanted to make.
True.
Back then, you needed a whole big crew to create what you needed to create.
Right.
But today, I think with technology, with everything becoming easier, that you can even do a visual effects film on your phone.
On your phone, shoot it on phone and make it. Yeah.
And so today I feel like what I experienced growing up is very different from what I experienced today. So I feel like a kid when I can like literally pick up a phone and say, gosh, I'm going to go make this project. And I don't have to get so many people to validate me as a creator. And I think that's a fantastic thing, knock on wood, that the future holds for a lot of women creators, a lot of women in visual effects. Yeah.
The technology is changing. I don't know if I'm allowed to jump in, but yes. I have a little story, just that when I started Warner Digital and obviously it was a much bigger facility of computer graphics than Boss Film was. And it had become a stay in the industry. You know, I was buying, it was a competition of how many terabytes between the competing studios you could, and you had to build a cold room and a dust-free room. And, you know, I was paying over $500,000 per terabyte at the time. I don't know what, I don't know how to tell you how I look at my phone. I go, I have a terabyte on my phone. I mean, it's just not, I mean, and it's going to go so fast from here. I don't even know at my age I can keep up. I mean, it's going to go so fast, exponentially. So I really do appreciate your retrospect. And I'll just add one more thing. You know, my mother wasn't allowed to get a credit card when she was 35 years old without her husband signing for her, right? She never put any, I didn't even understand that was in play until last year. She never imparted any of that. It was about being confident, right? And I think this is what you're all sort of showing. It's about not being afraid to be confident, even if you get slapped back by the, you know, by the rest of the world a little bit, because it's, you know, they haven't come out of their trajectory yet. Let's put it that way, right? But it is changing. Look, we have a vice president, right? I mean, it's like,
yes,
Absolutely.
you know, I would have voted for president, but you know, I'll take vice president, you know. So step by step, right? So things are changing. So yeah, keep pushing, and everybody you teach, just, you know, don't be afraid. Don't worry about being called the B word, because you're strong and because you have a passion. You know, that's you know, I think my confidence has hurt me and pushed me so far forward. So far forward is the biggest part. But, you know, you do get slapped back a bit.
Yeah.
So, just because you're a woman.
Pluses and
I'd like
minuses.
to add, like, you know, you need to do mistakes. Do the mistake. Then you learn, and you know, and we evolve. Yeah, that's what.
Awesome.
Everything.
Great. I love
Lovely.
it. I think we are running out of time a little. So
Any questions? From,
anybody wants to add anything? I guess otherwise, anybody wants to add something? We are good.
I just want to say that the more, because this is so specific to Indian culture and India, I think the more we do, the more we give back, the more we're going to reap the benefits.
Right.
So I think we are put in a position of responsibility in some sweet, strange way, that even if we can bring on 2 more women, if we can bring on 2 more women and just keep investing in that, I think that's the only way, and opening those doors, you know, like opening one small door and say, okay, I don't have a big project. I can't make you the VFX supervisor for this, but I can definitely make you the VFX supervisor for a commercial, or I can make it for a music.
You know what you have said, and really, you know, I'm just going back into all my years of experience where people put you down, people, you know, and then raising above all those things, and then, you know, being where we are today. It's a big lesson, and people like you giving opportunities, and you know, you said like to 8 to 9 months, you allow them to be who they are, you know, allow them to, you know, evolve. I mean, that's really a beautiful thing, like, you know, a thought that I'm going to take today with
Thank
me.
you.
Wonderful. So I'm sure we all are taking something out of this beautiful session, you know, and I totally agree. It's so wonderful seeing this, you know, smiling faces in different, I guess 3 or 4 different time zones. So it's already hats off, you know. We are talking to women in VFX from various time zones out here. Everybody's had their own hardships and have their own achievement. But another thing which I definitely am taking from here is I agree with the fact that at least I wish more and more girls see this particular panel session, you know, go through this, hear this, and the men share this more and more, you know, with everyone. And please be open, come to us. This is a message to all the girls who are interested, whether it's Mac painting, it's in the technical field, it's in course CG, anything, any damn thing, please come forward and try and approach. We are all here, to help out in whichever way we can, whether it is through our project or through guidance or putting on to, with someone else. If when we are in touch, we know who's doing
Maybe we
what
can
kind of.
the industry.
Correct. We can always help out. Great. So on that note, let me close this particular session. Thank you to all you lovely ladies. It's been
Thanks to Animation Express.
big thanks to Animation
So nice to
Express
have,
for bringing us together.
Yeah. And Priyanka and we all go a long way. We are friends in the industry, and so nice. Every time we come on a VFX panel, we meet.
I think we've probably been in like more women in VFX panels than
Yeah.
anybody. It's like every time we meet, we're talking about women in visual effects.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Fantastic. Great. So
Nice meeting you all.
So much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Happy 2021, everyone.
Oh,
Happy
yeah.
2021. Thanks,
Hopefully.
Ellen. Thanks, Priyanka.
Yes.
Thanks, Shiji.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Kranti.
Bye, Asmita.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.